Good morning and a very warm welcome back to the channel. So in today's video I'm going to talk through all of the modifications that I've made to my Royal Enfield Himalayan, which ones I think you should make yourselves and which ones you should go with that and probably save a little bit of money on. Let's go take a look. Now for all of the modifications in today's video I'm going to go through the order I brought them in and the purchase price and add it all up at the end. I think you'll be a bit surprised with how much all of this has cost me. It surprised me anyway. Now the very first modification that I made to the bike is installing these Givi Crash Bars. So these cost me £120, and the reason that I went for these over any other crash bars is they give you 3 points of contact, which just makes them a little bit more durable. Believe it or not, I actually cleaned the bike yesterday in preparation for this video, but it's disgusting today. It's got filthy on the way over here. So these cost me £120, and are they worth it or not? Well, yes, for the peace of mind they give me. They're one of those pieces of equipment that if you do have a fall on the bike, and I definitely have had a couple of tumbles on the green lanes, you never know if the bike would have fared kind of worse if they weren't on there. So I'll never really know, but for the peace of mind it gives me, I think the Givi Crash Bars are well worth your time and money. And the second and third modifications to the bike I installed at the same time. So the first of which is this Royal Enfield branded reinforced handlebar brace. So the standard handlebars on the Royal Enfield Himalayan are renowned for being a little bit soft. So this again just gives me a little bit of extra security, knowing that if I do drop the bike, the chances of it bending and breaking are kind of minimal. Again, a little bit like the crash bars, it's one of these modifications where you're never really going to know if it works. But again, for that extra peace of mind, I think it's worth the investment. Like I mentioned, £75 for them. The other thing that I installed at the same time was these Barkbuster Handguards. Reason for installing these is twofold. One, they give you protection on the trail. So the last thing that you want to happen when you're going down the trails is for a branch to hit your handlebar and pull the front brake on, and you have an off. The second reason for it is a little bit more protection from the elements. So certainly in the winter months, just keeps the wind and rain off of you, and just makes you that little bit more comfortable when both on the road and on the trail. So price for these, they were quite expensive, so £135. We'll have to buy some expansion bolts for these as well, otherwise they won't fit the Himalayan, which were £15. So £150 for these all told. Definitely not the cheapest thing you can buy. You can definitely buy Amazon specials for these, but I don't intend on getting rid of this bike anytime soon. So again, for the extra peace of mind they'll give me, I'd rather kind of buy once than, buy a cheaper variant and have to replace them later down the line. So again, in terms of the is it value for money, it's expensive, but you definitely don't want to be riding on trails without any handguards, that's for sure. Just before I go into the next modification, I just forgot to say that all of the modifications I'm going through today, I've made detailed videos on the channel about the installation process. So once you've watched this video, if you need any kind of tips for installing them, go back and watch those. We had some fun making them, so yeah, I encourage you to check those out. So the next thing I installed was the ultimate Add Ons Heated Grips, and the reason that I went for these is twofold really. So obviously heated grips in the UK I think are pretty much a essential modification on any bike, but the reason I went for these in particular is because they don't have that big chunky box that other products like the Oxford have. I just think these look a little bit neater, a little bit tidier. Really simple operation, 5 different heat modes. Press the button, we go from blue to green to yellow to amber and then to red for the hottest setting, and then just press again to take them off. Again, really worthwhile modification, and one that I was happy to make. So price on these was £135, so definitely not the cheapest. The only thing you do need to be wary of is if you turn the engine off, actually what will happen is these won't turn off automatically, so you need to be careful of that. You don't want to kind of run the risk of leaving them on and kind of flattening your battery. But again, worth modification. I think it's worth your time and money.
Although I do recommend these heated grips, one slight downside is that the button for the operation is right next to the indicators. So if you are turning the indicators on and off, it is all too easy to turn these on and off. So just something to be mindful of. One of the issues that we actually had fitting these is that they were incredibly hard to get on. So the instruction manual said don't use a hammer. We had to. But yeah, we're kind of stuck with it in the position it's in now. In an ideal world, you'd have this kind of an eighth of a turn lower just to avoid that indicator button, but just something to be mindful of when fitting as well.
Okay, next modification for the bike was kind of forced rather than because I actually wanted to, and it was fitting these wing mirrors. So price for these was just £15 from Amazon, my cheapest modification, and it just goes to show that cheap doesn't always mean bad quality, because these have been absolutely perfect for me. And the reason I fitted these is because when I fitted the Barkbuster Handguards, because of the position of the original mirrors, they were kind of pointed at the ground, so I was kind of forced into this purchase, but no issues, no vibes. The one on the left does keep coming a little bit loose, but I just need to make sure I keep on top of that and tighten that. But you know, standard mirrors on the Himalaya are absolutely fine, but if you're kind of forced into making a change, go on Amazon. Don't spend a fortune. You really don't need to. Okay, so the next modification I made to the bike was a little bit of trial and error for this one, and this was the screen. So because I'm recording audio and I'm riding, it's really, really important for me to have wind noise as low as it can be, really, and it was so loud with the standard screen. So I ordered a slightly smaller screen from Hitchcocks, didn't like the look of it, and then I then sent it back and went for this one, which is actually 6 inches longer than the original. What I'll do is I'll pop some footage in now for you so you can hear what it's like with the you know, in terms of the wind noise.
Right folks, I'll just take you up from 0 to 60 just so you can hear the wind noise. I won't commentate through this, I'll just let you hear the wind noise of the screen. Just for reference, I've got a pretty decent helmet on, and probably one of the best helmets I own for wind noise, so let's give this a go. We'll just slow it down so you can hear me, folks. So that was all the way up to 60. It's really not a particularly windy day today at all. Got lots of trees covering me as well, and you can hear there that yeah, still quite a lot of buffeting.
Now just bear in mind with any screen, in terms of the wind noise you're going to get, it's going to depend on your height, your helmet, lots and lots of different factors. But for me, this is the one modification that I wouldn't say is essential. Now, the reason I've kept this screen is, for me, for filming these YouTube videos, any kind of minimal gains that I can get in terms of improving audio quality, are really, really worthwhile for me. But if you're not recording these kind of videos, I can't really say I'd recommend it. Save you £120, it's really not worth it. I know some people take the screens off entirely. I did try that, didn't work for me, but yeah, I can't endorse this, unfortunately. Okay, next little accessory, more rather than a modification really, is just adding this Q bag to the back. So I think it's only about 6 litres in capacity, really, really small. Got a couple of bungee cords on the outside, as you can see. Just open it up. Just got my lock in there at the minute, house keys. There's a little bit of netting at the top there, so you can pop bits and bobs in there. Yeah, it's just great for me carrying bits and bobs like my keys, like I say, and a little bit of camera equipment as well. So £20, that one from Sports Bike Shop. You really can't go wrong. The only slight downside of this is that it does cover the rear light a little bit, so in terms of safety it is a little bit of a concern, but in terms of practicality and use, it works pretty well. And last but by no means least, the biggest expense on this bike for me has been fitting the new tyres to it. So those of you that are regular viewers of the channel will know that I love to do a little bit of green laning, so changing the stat from the standard Stayers was a must for me. So I decided to go for the Anlas Capra X's. As you can see, much more aggressive lug pattern than the standard Stayers offer you. So for me, at least, it was an essential upgrade that I simply needed to make. Show you the front tyre there. So these were £176, and then I paid £54 to have them fitted as well, because I just didn't have the confidence to do it myself. So by far and away, most expensive modification I've made. And if you're not green laning, don't bother. The standard Stayers are absolutely fine, at least in my opinion anyway. But if you're doing any kind of green laning or any kind of off-road work, I can highly recommend the Anlas Capra X's. Okay folks, so there you have it, every modification that I've made to my Royal Enfield Himalayan. So what's the damage for all of this? Surprised me, a whopping £836, which is almost an extra 25% on what I paid for the bike. So if you think of it like that, it is a little bit ridiculous really. But the vast majority of these modifications, like I said, I'd recommend. The only one I wouldn't really is the screen. If I had to pick one out to do to your bike, if you're doing a little bit of off-roading, green laning, I'd probably say the tyres are essential. If you're just road riding, don't bother, just stay with the standard ones. For road riders, I'd recommend the heated grips. Absolutely fantastic. You know, it's always cold and windy and horrible air in the UK, so you can't go wrong with heated grips. Yes, these Ultimate add-ons are a little bit more expensive, but I just think they look really clean and tidy on the bike. Hopefully that was useful, guys. What modifications have you got on your bikes? Let me know in the comment section down below. As always, thank you all so much for watching. Take care, ride safe, and until the next time, goodbye.